my senior year portfolio. I want to thank you all for coming. So first, I'd like to open up in a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity where I can have all my loved ones just come and watch me and see how much I've grown through you and socially, Lord. Thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen. One of the words to describe me, I believe, is compassion. I have a heart to serve, and obviously I've had since I was younger. I used to reach my little brothers, and I carry on that now through mission trips. I want to use compassion through my future profession and my family, and I get an extreme joy from using that. So it says 1 Peter 4:8, above everything, love one another earnestly because love covers over many sins. My hobbies and interests are painting. I use painting as a stress reliever and to calm my anxiety. A lot of the things I paint don't really have a meaning, it's just for fun. But the one on the upper right corner is spiritual. The flowers represent us, and the light represents Christ. And us as flowers, we are small and almost nothing, but with the light of Christ, we grow into a beautiful thing later on, and we make it known. Next, I'm going to be talking about my friend and family influence. I want to start off with my brothers. My brothers have had a major influence on my life. They have taught me patience and a lot of maturity. I have learned maturity through always wanting to be a role model, having you guys look up to me, and patience definitely with your constant fighting over Fortnite, but also with maturity is wanting to give good advice, like when Haley's asking for a girlfriend. And then my mama and papa for always wanting me to shoot for the best, wanting the best in everything I have, and I have that want all the time because of you. And then my dad, he has given me the fun side of life, personality. I always want to be on roller coasters or do something fun and adrenaline filled. And then next, he couldn't be here, but not only my boyfriend, but my best friend. He has encouraged me so much through this year. He taught me to forgive others, even though I really don't want to. Our relationship is built on Christ, and whenever we have a problem, we always go to Christ immediately. And one of the things he has really taught me is when I have a problem, I go to Christ, not to other people, not for anyone else to fix it, but I need to pray and go to Christ, and that's something that he's influenced me a lot. Next, I want to talk about my stepdad, Brian, and he's influenced me because he is a gift from God. He is a spiritual leader in my family. He has not only planted that seed of Christ, but he's also grown it in so many ways possible. He's taught me to be a better person in all situations, even though they're just awful situations. He taught me to always be loving on my enemies, and he's someone I can talk to for hours about God, and he just teaches me the logistics about it and just the love of Christ. He's the person that calms me down in stressful situations, and he has endless support since I can remember. And he is definitely a role model. He represents someone I want in a husband and eventually a father as well. And he's influenced me so much in my spiritual walk, and I can go on for hours just saying how much he's done for me, but I don't have time. And then lastly, I want to talk about my mom. My mom is my best friend. She always has been. Life has been hard for her. She had me at a very young age, along with my dad, and she has been the person praying for me nonstop. She loves me and she sacrifices everything. And I think that's one of the influences she has on me that I've adapted is her constant sacrifice. She has given up everything for my own happiness, and it's paying off with my success in life. And she's also my best friend. I can talk to her about everything. And we get to go out and have lunch and just have so much fun. And even if I did not mention you, you have had a huge influence on my life, and I'm so grateful for you. Next is what makes me unique, and I think that is my unfailing forgiveness. And I have definitely grown on that a lot this year. A verse I have for this is Ephesians 4:31-32. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other as Christ forgave you. So the point of Christianity is to be more Christ-like. Jesus died on the cross for us to give us a blank slate. We sin almost every single day without us even only realizing it, and he forgives us. So what makes us different than the person who's sitting next to you? I think that you need to forgive and forgive and forgive. And with that, I have Matthew 18:22. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother who sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, not just 7, but 77. And he's not saying exactly 77. He's saying how we need to keep on forgiving no matter how many times we sin against you. And just like Christ, we sin every single day. We're not worthy of his love, but he continues to forgive us. My plans after high school is I will be attending the University of West Florida's Honors College, majoring in biomedical sciences. And 2 goals of mine to complete after high school are internships and youth groups. I already found my roommate for college, and she is also part of a youth group at her church. So I'm definitely going to be looking into that and seeing if it's something for me, or if not, I'll find another church up there. But church is my #1 priority, so I can stay in the faith of God. And then internships, I want to be a cosmetic surgeon as of right now. So I need to get used to the constant hospital environment and need to get used to everything. So I believe through internships, I can definitely get used to that. So my testimony, the first verse I have for that is, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. Proverbs 3:5-8. The way God led me through high school, I think, was spiritual battles. At a lot of times, I think that he wasn't there, and I had a hard time with that because he was just quiet. But what he was trying to do was open my eyes to see what exactly he was doing. And that had to grow my trust in him. So since 9th grade, my trust has grown significantly. And it has influenced the way I choose college, the way I choose my friends. And even though things aren't going right at that immediate time, I know that if I trust in him and what he has planned, it's gonna be something beautiful. An example I have is college. I got accepted to all of the colleges I applied for except for 2, and mostly all of them gave me scholarships, and I think that was really difficult because then I had to figure out if I wanted to stay close to home, or if I liked the campus, or if it's too expensive. So I honestly had no clue what I was going to choose. And I just kept in prayer. My family was in prayer, and it was just a lot to handle, but I had to figure out how to decide, and that was through trust. And University of West Florida was the best option. And I also had to trust my best friend moving away, and I think that was something that I had to see a bigger plan in. Next, I'll be talking about my spiritual disciplines, which has to do with my testimony as well. One of them is serving, and that also ties back to my compassion. And I enjoy seeing people happy from something I did. So in this picture, his name is Garvin, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. And the simplest thing we did was just sit in this small room and talk to him and feed him. And through this, I was able to ask God to speak through me with wisdom, and I just think that is one of the most best ways to be in contact with God, because it's direct. It's directly from him. And the next, which also ties into serving, is prayer. And I think this is also good because it's direct communication. So I have always been in prayer. I pray every night. I pray with my dad all the time. And a couple months ago, maybe a year ago, I was just having a really rough time. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and saying, God, give me a sign to know that I'm okay. And I had a dream, and the moment I woke up, I knew it was God. And I wrote it down what he said. He said, if you listen to what I say, and keep your eyes on me, you will live a complete and wholesome life. And I never forgot that because it was so meaningful at that exact time because I was just so lost. And so the verse again, and above everything, love one another earnestly because love covers over many sins. And I believe that love covers everything and it makes someone so broken so happy. So my apologetics section is, I'm going to start with the verse, Matthew 14:32-33. And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, truly you are the Son of God. God is real. Scientists nowadays, they don't focus on who God is or what he's done. He focuses on how he did it, if he's even real. Creation is just an elephant in the room. God is standing right in the center of it, and they're all just looking around and seeing if they can prove it wrong. So this leads to the origins of the earth. In order to create something out of nothing, something needs to create it. But then people ask, how is that created? And that's God. But then they're like, how was God created? And a characteristic of God is eternal. And that being must be eternal to create something out of nothing. We all see his fingerprints throughout creation in everything he does. It's just our job to see it. And then in John 17:24, it says, you loved me before the foundation of this world. And so this is basically proving that he existed before he even laid the foundations of the ground we walk on. Now, this does not disprove how the world was created. It could have been created in many theories, such as the Big Bang Theory. We just have to see that God did create it. Sharing my faith is very important to me, and I look to 2 Timothy 1:8 for it. Therefore, do not be ashamed of this testimony about our Lord, nor of me, his prisoner, but share in suffering for the gospel by the power of God. So when I share the word with someone, whether it's an adult or a kid, I make sure to get with them on a personal level. The little boy I'm hugging right now, right here, with the little lion tattoo, his name is Dustin, and he is about 7 or 8, and I just felt love to him. And we played tag, we did face painting, and it was just so much fun. And I got connected to him through a personal level. And I believe that I planted that seed. I didn't save him because that's not my job. I planted the seed and he grew. Another example is this other lady I met at the straw market. I didn't get a picture with her, but her name was Rebecca. And I was just talking to her with one of my kids, and she was asking me how I was gonna handle high school and college and where I was going. And she just started crying out of nowhere. And I really didn't know why. I just started loving on her. And she said that I reminded her of her niece, the way I spoke and the way, like, what my dreams are. And her niece is really lost. She doesn't know how, like, to handle life and everything. So I gave her hope that something bad can turn into something beautiful at the end. This is me, my freshman year. I enjoy dissecting stuff. You can't tell that's a cake tail, and that's a cow heart as well. And I think advice to my freshman self is to be friends with everyone. Uh-oh. What happened? Did the computer die? No, it unplugged. I was on a roll.
You're good, don't worry. Yeah. Do you see it on your computer?
No. There we go. Okay. I was a funny person. I was willing to make anyone laugh at any time. And I think throughout high school, I definitely humbled a little bit. I got more scared. I'm a little more shy. And I think it's because how I chose my friends. And I needed to my advice is to look at the bigger picture, not just look at the cover of them and think, oh my gosh, no, I won't have fun. These people are fun. I'm going to be friends with them. And I should have invested in people that were gonna invest in me, because I made that mistake and it kind of wasted time, I guess. So that's definitely my advice. So my extracurricular activities is strictly cheerleading. I did it since 6th grade, and it was honestly the time of my life. I did competition and went to every single football game, and I also got to cheer with my mom the whole time, which was so much fun, even though I wasn't favored at all, but I had a little bit. And I definitely learned the family and team concept. My team was my family. It was they were people I can be comfortable with, have my own personality around, and it was just a lot of fun. So I'm really thankful that CCA gave me that opportunity to do that. So my staff member influence, I'm going to start with the verse Proverbs 19:20-21. Listen to advice and accept instruction, that you may gain wisdom in the future. Many are the plans in the mind of man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. So it was really hard for me throughout high school to actually click with a staff member, and these two people helped me significantly last year and this year. So I'll start with Mr. Neal. He had extreme spirit. He guided me through my spiritual battles a lot, through not knowing if he was there or not. And he was just the person that the moment I walked in, he knew by my face that something was either wrong or something awesome just happened. And he was always so caring, he's funny, and he's very encouraging. One of the things he advised me to do is to think before I make a decision. Like, for example, I walked in when I got accepted to University of West Florida, and before I got the scholarship, before I got anything. And I came in jumping for joy, and he wasn't. And I was like, Mr. Neal, can I have a little something? And he's like, no. He's like, do you know if you want to go there? I'm like, I don't know yet. And he's like, did you get anything from there? I'm like, no. He's like, okay, then you need to wait. And he's like, don't come up to me again about this college until you do. I was like, wow, okay. So I did just that. I prayed and I waited, and then I finally came in with a scholarship in the Honors College, and then that's when he was jumping for joy and he started crying. And then Mrs. Quinn, this year she has made a huge impact. She guided me through many social issues, and not just the one incident is when she really cared. She was an ongoing updating person. She kept asking me, how are you doing? She pulled me out of class for coffee, and both of these people I believe I can open up to, and they're definitely a blessing of God. So my academic growth, it's one or the other. I'm sleeping in the hallway, or I have 2 computers stressing out.
Sleeping.
Yeah. So I've always been a good student. I've always had good grades, A's and B's. As I got older, I think I slacked off a little bit, but I still got the good grades. And it was easier. I figured out how to manage my workload a lot better, which I think is going to prepare me a lot for college. But I still procrastinate sometimes, but so does everyone. And I think I have major senioritis, even as a junior. And or I can just be very, very diligent. So overcoming challenges. This one is very important to me because I made the most wonderful friends, Megan, and then a niece who's at lacrosse practice, which is fine, and all these beautiful girls that are there right now, and I'm just really thankful for them because before I met them, I did not want to be friends with them. I was like, these people are weird, they're a little too much for me, they're the last people I pictured myself being around. And there's a period at the end of my junior year and beginning of senior year where I was just done. I didn't want to talk to anyone, I sat alone, I sat with my mom every day at lunch, and I was just done. And homecoming week was coming up, and I wasn't even going to go to the dance because I had no one to go with. It was just sad. I wanted high school to end, and my mom, she got me an interview at WA, and I was going to transfer, and it was ready. Nothing that CCA did, it was just I wasn't having a good high school experience anymore. And I was in small groups. I was put in the small group because I had no other small group to go in. And I was talking about how I'm not going to the dance, and Megan and Anise were like, yeah you are, that's ridiculous. And she's like, you're gonna come get ready with us, whether you like it or not, and we're all gonna go to the dance. I was like, wow, okay. So I did just that, and ever since then we've been inseparable. We've been having so much fun, and I said no to WA, and that was definitely God. God wanted me to stay here and find these awesome friends. They introduced me to all these people, and they are so fun. And they've changed my faith in God so much. Megan is so strong in her faith, and it influences me so much to be more like her, more like God, not more like God, more like Jesus, and want to be more like him. And I'm just so thankful for them because they've done so much for me with endless support, and yeah. So Matthew 28:19 says, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always at the very end of the age. Matthew 18:19 through 20. So if I were principal, I would definitely put a mission trip between the 8th grade Bahamas trip and the Mexico trip in 11th grade. Although I wasn't able to go on the Mexico trip, I think that in between 8th grade and 11th grade, there's a lot of physical and social maturity, and sometimes spiritually you kind of get left behind in the Bahamas. So I think if you put maybe a little mission trip sometime in between there, it really helped the student grow and prepare them better for Mexico. So addressing issues, I think that there should be a limit on grace, on bullying, and paying more attention to behavior outside of school. Since they did not know the righteousness of God and sought to establish their own, they did not submit to God's righteousness. Romans 10:3. Bullying here is not handled the best. Taken from me, it was really difficult for me to even still be here if it wasn't for my friends. And I did speak up eventually and go to administration, but they did not handle it the best. It was handled, but the way it was handled, it could have gotten me buried in a lot deeper of a hole, or for another student who wasn't as stable in their spiritual walk or with friends as me, would have just crashed and burned even harder. So I think that definitely needs to be looked at and maybe reevaluated. Okay, next is my showcase piece. So I wanted to bring up this little girl I met in the Bahamas this year as a leader. Her name is Talise McKinney, and here's just a small little video of her dancing. She's a dancer at one of the local Bahamas dance schools, and she is literally the cutest thing in the world. That's the first thing she wanted to show me, was her dancing.
Wow!
Wow.
Yeah, and then, so her story was very impactful for me. Right before her bus came pulling in, I prayed, I'm like, God, use me. God, bring a child to me just that will love, just feel love and want to open up to me so I can help them through you. And so I was just sitting on the bench, and this little girl comes to sit on my lap, and she's like, hi, I'm Talise. I'm like, hi. So we were clicked the entire time. The middle picture of me hugging her, she just opened up to me about her whole life story, and that was the first 10 minutes I met her. I was sitting on that bench when she just came up to me. Her story, I'm not going to say everything because of how vulgar it is, but she told me that when she goes home, there's a man that hurts her mom, and so I asked her, does he hurt you? And he's like, yeah, and my sister as well. And so I just gave her a big hug, and I was like, are you okay? Is anything wrong? And she's like, you know what a man and a woman do when they get married? He did that to me. And I honestly didn't even know what to say, and I was just lost at words, and it was just really, really hard for me. And she said that the man did it to her sister as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff I can't repeat. But she told me this and I had no words and I didn't want to cry, so I just gave her a hug. And she's crying, and it was just a really hard thing for me to see. So I let her, she had to go to the bathroom, and I called my mom crying hysterically, and I didn't know how to handle it. I wanted to help, but obviously it's not in my hands, so I did report it. But throughout the entire day, we were inseparable. She was basically my best friend on the camp, and we had so much fun. She was always laughing and dancing, and I think one of the things that she showed me was how happy someone can be through such awfulness at home. She goes home and she doesn't know what's gonna happen that night. She told me that 2 nights before the camp, she had to walk home because she woke up somewhere else that she didn't know. And she means a lot to me, and I really do love her. And so eventually she did have to go, and we were both crying, and she had to sit on the bus by herself, and I didn't know how I was gonna say goodbye to this little girl. So a couple hours later, we were supposed to go to another school, and our team leader surprised us by going to the same exact school as she goes to. And when I realized it was Yellow Elder School, I was praying that this little girl finds me. So I did the face painting, and there's about 1,000 kids at this school. It's an elementary school, and I'm sitting there doing the face paint, and I hear someone yell my name, and I look, and she's running towards me with balloons, and she got a balloon right before that says, "I love you, Courtney," with a giant heart on it, and she's like, "I made sure and get you a balloon right before I found you." She's like, "I was asking everyone where you were," and we were just talking the entire time. She's like, "I thought I was never gonna see you again." And honestly, it was one of the best moments of my entire life, being able to see her again. And she taught me love, and she taught me happiness, because I was just so sad with everything going on at school, and she showed me that there is no reason at all for me to be so sad. So eventually we did have to say goodbye, and I prayed with her, and I said, if something else happens at home, you just need to pray and pray and pray. And I gave her a little doll, and she said she's gonna promise to pray, and I told her that I'm gonna try and come back and see her again, hopefully, but I definitely know I'm gonna remember her forever, and I hope she remembers me as well. So thank you all for coming, and that's it.